Refresh that. Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah, we know there's no audio. We caught that before we read the chat. Cookies and shitty starts to our show.
Yeah.
Luckily, it wasn't on
You're in
because
charge of the audio.
I don't know. It's like right here. We spent so much time cleaning up all your wife's shit out of here.
I spent like 2 minutes. All right. Anyway.
Look.
Welcome to another episode of This Week in Tech.
Yeah.
I'm Justin. This is Carl. And today we're talking about whatever we feel like. And you were just talking about new RGB fans in your computer.
Yeah, in my week, I got some new fans. RGB'd it out. Corsair fans. Corsair RGB. What is it? SP120 RGB Pros. I think is what they were. It's these guys right here. Throw those up there. Maybe. Of course. There we go. Okay. Wow, nothing just wanted to work right now. Let's just do bookmarks. Get rid of the bar. So I got some of these fans right here. Fully kitted it out. I bought 2 3-packs just like this. I only have spot for 5 fans though. And the cool thing though is this does come with a hub to control your lighting. Because, you know, who has 6 different RGB ports on one motherboard? So, yeah, I'm all RGB'd out. It lines up with my keyboard to where I actually have it synced to where the lights will go the same across the keyboard and the mouse. Or the keyboard and the fans.
Yeah, I need to RGB my computer. But
Do you need an extra hub?
I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to... So, there's this guy. Do we have mine working?
Nope.
No?
All right, so let's do... Yeah, well, we didn't do any of that. Yeah. So let's do here, and let me do the HD60S properties and all sorts of weird stuff.
Reactivate.
I know. Don't tell me how to live my
I'm not.
life.
I'm just narrating for you.
I know. And then we can Actually, you know what? Before we do... We missed something. You missed something during the introduction. You got to say hi to people. You jumped right over to me. I never just jump right over to you.
Well, we talk about us, and then that gives them time to talk amongst themselves and get acquainted with each other, and then
Yep. Let's. Why is that? I don't want the. Oh. Okay, why can't I just click it? Whatever. Anyways, you're saying about this guy?
Right. This guy has a YouTube channel.
It's
called Dave's Garage.
Dave's Garage.
This is the guy who
sponsored.
This is the guy who wrote the original Task Manager for Windows 95.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's got a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And what he did recently... PC with RGB fans. So he bought these real cheap RGB fans. It's the real dirt cheap ones that I was looking at getting.
Yeah.
And then he cuts the connectors off.
Okay.
And then so this is him cutting the connectors off and then stripping the wires back and then pigtailing them onto a board that he wrote software for that handles the RGB. Right?
Yeah, essentially what Corsair thing does.
What the Corsair thing is. But these are significantly cheaper. And the one downside is you couldn't do any other controls with them because they're proprietary. And he unproprietaried them.
Oh, yeah, because it's all running through Arduino, or what is he running that through? Raspberry Pi?
Let's see here.
Does it say? Because I saw a small screen, like if you go forward.
Yeah. That's him testing something. Oh, so it's all encased. So it's in that screen.
Gotcha. I'd be interested to see what exactly.
So when I RGB, I might do that because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
The Corsairs are like the best.
Yeah, they are nice. I like the fact that software-wise, it's one thing to control the keyboard and the fan, so I don't have to mess around with anything.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So that's
yeah.
your new stuff. You also reinstalled Windows.
Yeah, I did a fresh install Windows because sometimes you just gotta clean stuff out.
Yeah, I did the same.
Yep.
Like you started doing yours, and then I'm like,
it's about time to do another one.
I tried to do something, and another thing crashed on me, and I'm like, I'm done. Carl rebuilt his computer. I'm gonna rebuild mine.
Yeah.
Can't let Carl have the faster computer just because he has a fresh install.
Just because there's no other garbage. Because I do tend to install stuff to just try out softwares, and then that leaves stuff behind, even if after you uninstall it. So, sometimes you just need a little cleaning.
Yeah, and my computer's. I've not done anything new yet.
Yeah, I haven't done anything else.
I have a Stream Deck too now.
Oh yeah. Justin got himself a Stream Deck. That's always nice.
Just a mini.
We're going to just take that and move that down a little bit somehow. Because it is like right over your mouth.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Stream Decks, those are great systems. And with Philips, you can integrate into the Stream Deck to have like one button push lighting real easily. Yeah. I managed to do it with mine through webhooks and IFTTT, which is a way of doing it, but the only way you can do it with LifeX.
I watch a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer named Zine.
Yep.
I've shown him a couple times.
Oh yeah.
When in Among Us, prompted him to use his Stream Deck. Well, he actually has an extra button, but he does basically the same thing to control his lights. That's also tied to when he's muted in Discord. So when he's talking to his fans, he knows that his fans can hear him, but he's not. But he's muted, so the rest of the people can't. We have a bot that does that for us.
Yeah, but that's smart though. That is smart. If there's a way for it to automatically recognize when you're muted, or I guess it'd be server muted. Well, but would it work with the bot though? Because the bot automatically does it versus me hitting a button to mute Discord.
I imagine that if I wrote the bot, I'd have to rewrite it, but I could write it so it posts to some website, web page, and then you could have a listener on the page. There it is.
All right, perfect. Rewrite it.
Okay. That's actually what I was trying to do. Was I also have I've got my headset and my speakers, and one of the main things that I got Voicemeeter for was so that I could easily switch between them without having to restart all my applications and stuff.
Oh yeah, no that's before I got my Go XLR. That's why I was using it, because I got it's I don't understand why.
That's one advantage Mac has.
Mac you have the ability, no matter what program you're in, if you change your audio adapter, like where audio is routing to, it just goes. Versus in Windows, it is
adjust my mic.
You don't have to change because you're already here. Why would you change? It keeps on the same stuff. So
yeah. So what was it? Oh yeah.
And,
so I got.
Can you say my friend's name? And no, guess what? You are officially hit on this channel from here on out. No, not playing that game. Crop cake.
Not that kind of.
No,
channel.
You're completely done. Anyways, what were you saying?
Oh, so Voicemeeter banana, or Voicemeter. It's Voicemeter banana, Voicemeter potato.
Yeah,
I don't know why they name them that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just the different levels of how many inputs and outputs you get. I'm using that to switch the audio outputs, but I don't like going up and clicking and picking the audio output.
Yep.
My Stream Deck, I have programmed a button to do that, but because of the way the guy who developed it, his toggle button can't check to see what it's on, so it doesn't work right.
Oh.
But you can still do the long press for one, short press for the other to toggle. So that's what I'm doing now. But I'm like, I'm going to rewrite this to work the way I wanted it to write.
To where it's just a toggle, yeah.
But then I couldn't get some things to pull, some DLLs to pull in, which you're supposed to be able to just do. And something else was crashing. And I'm like, what? I'm reinstalling. I'm going to try this later. So I might do that, try it again this weekend.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You have to let me know how that turns out. You need to make a video on that. Just programming stuff.
Would anybody here be interested if I started my channel and focused around programming and gaming. Game-related programming. I'm going to program a key that does a thing.
But you got to start somewhere, right? Yeah. So, but I think it is time. Did you have anything else new in your world of tech this week? Okay.
Nope.
I think it is time. We do need to do a shout out because we haven't even talked to anybody on this chat yet.
Yeah, well, we got our introductions done.
Yes.
Let's get
Alan Buckley, else. 3 minutes. Yeah, it's way past 3 minutes. John Stevens, Game On. A little hello. We got Mark Gump in the house. Yes, we know there's no sound. We fixed that. Turn up the mics with a K. Mics or MIC. Microphone.
Yes. He wanted to turn up the Michael Jordans.
The mics in the world. Goes along with tonight's topic. Whatever the hell we want. We do have some tech news. We were running late, and I'm like, I'm not going to try and throw a title together. We'll just talk about whatever. Because usually, actually, I was thinking about this last week. We didn't even go over one of our mainline topics.
Did we?
Yeah, so we'll have to incorporate that into this week.
What did we miss last week?
It was the Fortnite back on the iOS store.
Oh.
We talked about it, but we never actually talked and presented it. So just got a notification after I started watching. Yeah, we kind of cut it really close this time. I made it, yay, notifications. And Alan, we got cool thing. I get it. They are fans. Yes. Gotta have fans to keep stuff cool. Yes, Kelly, it's always your fault. Who else we got here? And Larry. Larry is an imposter. Larry plays Among Us with us. And you guys are all welcome to also hop in the Discord. We have a channel. We try and make announcements when we do it. And he is a dirty, dirty imposter. He plays dumb, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but somehow he sometimes skates by. Except for this last time.
One of the easiest wins that I had, I think I was with Larry.
Yeah, because nobody expects Larry, because he just kind of, he waits to talk, and then he says something, and everybody's like, I'm confused, but whatever. So let's see. Hey, McLean Stevens Short Lived TV show. Hello, Larry. I need a wrench here. Yes, I gave you a wrench because I don't put up with I have no problem throwing down the ban hammer like I did with Crock Cake. No racial slurs, no politics. I'll give people warnings if it's like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm not going to talk about that. But but if it's anything racial like that, like he had put, no.
We're a very accepting group here.
Yes.
Any I don't know, bigotry or anything like that is not going to be
insta ban.
Yeah,
so.
We're not going to. If you go, there's lines, and there's a warning line, and there's a ban line.
Yes,
and
yes, I have no problem throwing up bans.
That one was straddling the line because he wasn't outright being racist, but he was trying to make us say something racist, which is straddling the line.
I'm not dumb. I've seen enough Twitch streamers and YouTubers doing live streams that will say, what was it? There was a challenge that Mr. Beast was doing or something where you had to hold your finger on there and on this app for as long as you could, and people were live streaming this on Twitch. And they were convincing. I need this over here more. Mm-hmm. They were convincing people to say Siri, on their iPhones. So it was they would say they'd have it worded out just like Crock Cake was doing, to where it'd make it trigger an iPhone so they'd lose the game. It's like, I know better. I'm reading everything ahead of time. I'm not just blindly reading it. So Justin, adjust mic to your mouth. Yeah.
I adjust the mic one way, adjust the other way. It's fine.
Here, we'll fix this. Now you can lower it because now I just cranked you up.
Okay.
This way you'll still be hearable.
Am I peaking?
No, I don't think so. Even if you are, people will complain. Then we'll turn it down.
Yep.
The trolls will not get past Alan and me. That is correct. Larry and Alan are officially moderators. They're going to help us out and just smack those people around. So, anyways, let's get into some tech. I think I covered everybody.
I think so.
This week in tech. I got an interesting. This is just kind of a little. Actually, no. We're starting off with what we missed.
Oh yeah.
Fortnite back on our iOS, and I had found this last week. We just never talked about it, and so we got to bring it up now. So for the little backstory for maybe anybody that missed it, basically Fortnite got removed from the iOS store because they were basically taking money a roundabout way for payments for all their stuff. iOS store contracts basically says any payments need to come through the iOS store, which charges a 30% fee. Epic Games went around that by posting stuff that's saying that you can go over to our website and get like, what was it, 20%?
20% off.
20% off of all purchases through the web store. Well, Apple didn't like that, laid down the ban hammer, kicked them off.
Technically against the terms.
It's against the terms. They broke their contract.
They broke the rules. They did.
Yep. So kicked them off the iOS store. There's been a whole lot of legal stuff. They're still going through it, but you can still play Fortnite on iOS. You just can't get updates. You can't install the game new anymore. It's pretty much what you have is what you get.
Which actually probably means you can't play anymore because I'm sure Fortnite's updated since then.
And that's where the problem lies. Is once something updates, then you can't do anything with it. So
yeah, your
unless they have
date.
like a practice mode or something.
Say offline mode. Fortnite.
Maybe.
Fortnite has a single player PvE mode, and I bet you could probably still play that.
Okay.
But that one isn't free. You have to have bought it. It's weird. Fortnite has a single player mode that's not free.
Yeah. So, but anyways, that's been going on for a little while now. Well, recently, just on the 5th of November, somebody decided to make a potential workaround for this. So, NVIDIA's cloud gaming service, what is that called again?
Oh.
GeForce Now.
GeForce Now.
Yes.
I have it. I have it on my phone. I never use it.
Yeah. So, somebody said, wait a minute, we could find a way to bring it back by using GeForce Cloud Gaming service that runs on Safari. Well, you pull up Safari on your phone. It's just like doing Google Stadia. Basically you control a computer through your phone. So it may not be perfect, but if you're hardcore, you might be able to get it working. Now this is still a conflict of interest to a certain extent, I would imagine. So I think NVIDIA is going to have to be careful of how they implement that, if they do.
Right.
There may be some limitations there.
Because I wonder if NVIDIA can get taken off, because NVIDIA is on the App Store for iOS.
Yep.
I wonder if Apple's going to say you're allowing a banned app into the App Store, and that's also against terms.
Yeah. So there's going to have to be some sort of validation there to go, are you on iOS? Sorry, you can't play.
And that might be another weird issue about this whole thing, is because how many apps does NVIDIA allow you to get to that you didn't pay Apple's 30% cut for?
Well,
because you could get to Warframe and buy things with their store through Warframe on your iOS device without paying Apple's cut.
That is interesting.
Yeah, so it's just another thing to think about.
That is, yeah, because the whole thing here is the fact that nobody wants to have 30% of their money taken away, and
I think the core of it is that people aren't treated equally.
Yeah.
Companies aren't treated equally, and so Epic is stuck having to pay it because they're just below the threshold of being able to, bargain with Apple. So they have to pay the full amount, and yet NVIDIA is the one who, I think NVIDIA is AMD is the one that makes all Apple's video cards too. So NVIDIA, I don't know.
Yeah. I think they do have some AMD video cards over on the Apple side.
I think they're all AMD.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any NVIDIA
Okay,
support.
sorry, I heard that differently as I was thinking about this. So, my understanding of how the App Store works on both iOS and Android, essentially the same, is you have programs such as Netflix. Mm-hmm. You don't start your Netflix account on iOS. Usually, it starts somewhere else, and then you still have access to that.
You can, though.
You can, and they will get some sort of cut there.
Mm-mm.
Yes, they do. I was reading an article on this because the way it works on it though is basically companies like Netflix or companies like Amazon, they pay just kind of a flat fee thing. Is what I was reading somewhere. Yep. Netflix stops. Let's video streaming apps bypass the App Store cut. Yes,
Apple already confirmed the existence, so it already existed, of a program for streaming video providers that allow these platforms to bypass the standard 30% App Store fee.
To bypass the standard 30%.
When selling individual purchases like movie downloads and TV show rentals.
Because they're just paying a flat fee, like a retainer fee for a lawyer. Like, yes, we're going to stay on that store, but instead of paying a 30% per item.
Oh, okay. So if you set up a new Prime Video subscription, it gets through the standard app purchase, so they would get a cut.
Yes, they would get a cut of that.
They would probably get a cut of the first month, and then the renewals probably no cut.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I wonder if that kind of falls because if you think about it, NVIDIA isn't really selling anything. They're selling access to a computer. They're not selling the games.
Right.
And they still have to have some restrictions like Fortnite. They're going to have to limit that, I'd imagine, just because of the...
Well, but NVIDIA can't limit it because you're just going into a virtual machine. So they're not modifying the... Unless they're going to go into every game client and modify it, NVIDIA can't limit it.
Well, but now, okay, when you access a website on a phone, it throws that mobile on there. Typically.
That's different because there's actually two different versions.
That's how they're saying to access it here.
The thing about the mobile
Safari.
To access.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it through the website. They're not even doing it through the App Store on the phone.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I should have clarified that.
No,
this was all running through Safari, so there's got to be a way for it to recognize and be like, sorry, but Safari doesn't allow Fortnite or something.
Well, I don't even know. Actually, I think that's a workaround that might actually bypass everything because then you're using Safari to access Fortnite, which Safari doesn't have to pay a cut to access NVIDIA.
That is true.
NVIDIA then doesn't have to pay Safari a cut because Safari doesn't ask for a cut, for allowing people to get there. I think that's a valid workaround that probably is completely legal and fine.
So, but if that's the case, and that would imply something that the GeForce Now app on the iOS store probably has some way of doing a limitation
and that's where I think that if the app on the phone is just access to a virtual machine, they can probably limit you so you can't get to certain games, but they can't stop you. If they let you into the game, they can't stop you from getting to the in-game purchases.
When does Best Buy close? I need to go buy an iPhone just to settle this. No, I have an iPad at home.
Yeah.
I should be. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, try getting into the...
Larry Brown, my brain hurts. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of confusion. Basically, people will always find a loophole of getting stuff done.
Right.
I'm sure you could jailbreak the iPhone and sideload Fortnite on there and update it somehow. There's always a way. This is just somebody thinks they found a way with NVIDIA.
So if I was a betting man, this is where I think the line is drawn. You either can't get to the app at all, or you can get to the app and the in-app purchases give Apple nothing. Those are where I'm thinking, because they're not. It's once you're on the computer, it's the same PC client version of Fortnite.
Yep.
That Fortnite provides you. NVIDIA has no control over what the content of the app is, and so they can't stop you from making in-app purchases there.
You know, we're just going to keep on the Mac train, right? How does that sound?
Yeah, let's do that.
Change it up a little bit, though. This is actually some new news. This was actually just a couple days ago. And this title really doesn't make sense, but just go with it. I just mainly picked it because it does talk about the specs of the new MacBook Pro. And there's really one thing that I want to talk about here, and that is the M1 ARM processor. Okay, so
just the new Mac made their own processor a while back.
Yes, they have years and years ago. They used to make their own processors. Then they switched to Intel, and they've been running Intel for years and years now. But they're trying something different. So, Justin, what kind of chip is in here?
An ARM something.
Yes, it's an ARM chip.
Yeah.
What kind of chip is in this right here?
Intel Core i7.
Okay, so it's on an ARM chip.
No, it's an x86 based chip.
What's in the desktop?
x86.
Okay.
What's in every Mac that has an Intel logo on it?
Intel, yes.
x86.
x86, yes. So now here's the interesting thing I do find about this is, in theory, if this and my phone both had the same chipset. I got a delivery coming?
That's probably the...
Oh, yeah.
It's FedEx is what's delivering the key.
Oh, okay. Then I might be getting it. Yeah. Anyways, if both of these were running the same chipset, a developer would only have to create essentially one foundation of a program.
They develop the app 90% once and then do the final 10% twice. Once for phone screen.
Yeah, once for just the aesthetics.
Right.
And that is what Apple is trying to do here. The iPads, the iPad Air, iPad Pro, regular iPad, all of those... Yeah, all of those are... or iPhones even, all those are going to have ARM processors. And then you have x86 processors for the Mac side of things. So therefore, there's a lot of integration. A lot of it can be transferred back and forth, but you're still limited. For example, on the iPad, I bought a program called Affinity Photo. Love the program. I had to rebuy it on the MacBook Pro if I wanted it on the MacBook Pro, but I did rebuy it for Windows, versus by having basically one app store for both your desktop or laptop and your mobile devices. Those can be easily transferred back and forth.
So before being on the same chip was a thing, Microsoft developed this. This is a Microsoft programming
all about
ecosystem.
Mac tonight.
Well, I'm just showing. This is a Microsoft programming ecosystem. You program in your normal C#. That's what I do when I'm doing traditional development. Is C#, .NET applications, and it auto translates it to being a mobile app, a Windows app, a Mac app. It does all of that. The problem is, because there are architectural differences between them, you have to do the least common denominator. So there are certain commands that you can do on a phone that you can't do on a desktop, and there are certain commands that you can do on a desktop you can't do on a phone. Either this has to emulate the ability to do those commands, which then runs slower on the ones that can't actually do it, or it has to limit you to not do those commands if they're going to be real performance hitting. So you could do it before, and that's probably that, not necessarily Xamarin, but something like that is probably how Fortnite and all those games became cross-platform. There's other alternatives to this where you still write 90% once, but you have a lot of limitations and things that design considerations you have to take into account.
Yeah. No, and that makes sense. You know, it's essentially compared to cars. I think cars, a lot of people can understand simply of the fact that if I want to make one engine work across all the cars and all the trucks, what's gonna fit in the Honda Civic? the little 4-cylinder, which means that same 4-cylinder, because I only wanted to design one, has to also power that Ford F-150, right?
Well, that's how they developed the inline 8 and the V8 is they took 2 4-cylinders.
Yeah,
So there you go.
Kind of, based off of this, yes. But based off
I'm
of this
ruining your
concept.
analogy.
Ruining my
I'm
analogy.
ruining your
as
analogy.
always.
That was my only goal.
Yes.
But yeah, it's the difference. Like your car analogy is great. You could put different size engines in the different vehicles, as long as every engine had the same bolt pattern.
Yeah.
Right, because
then that's where exactly.
Yeah, then it's like, okay, well, I can do a slightly more powerful version of this, and I can throw it in a slightly bigger engine, but I could also still put that 4-cylinder in here because, the bolt pattern is the same. I just need a little bit more room for the big one.
Yeah.
So it's even better than that.
Real quick, I saw Rod Priester Priester, I think it's Priester. Correct me if I'm wrong. He jumped in. He says, "Hey, Alan." Also, he says, by the time they get it sorted, and he's talking about Fortnite. Nobody's going to be playing Fortnite anymore, or it's not going to be as popular.
I think the Fortnite numbers are dropping quickly.
And I don't know if that's necessarily because now you're getting games like Call of Duty Warzone, or if it's the lack of support on iOS devices or what. But
I think it's a combination of things. Yeah. It is Fall Guys. It is Among Us.
Oh yeah, Among Us I'm sure is taking a big old hit out of Fortnite.
It's Fall Guys, Among Us, Counter-Strike,
There's other things that, and people are slowly starting to return to work to a certain extent. So not as much Fortnite. So I'm sure we saw a spike during, COVID and all that.
I'm trying to
find up to date
a better graph.
So,
I don't think they have a recent one.
On top of the compatibility, kind of going back here to, everybody knows about cars here. See, I knew they would have. It's like all of a sudden I see V8, 61 New Yorker, 64.5 Mustang. So
that's where they did the block swaps. But like, we're gonna put a big block Chevy engine in this thing. You can do that because the bolt patterns were all close enough to the same where you can make it work, or exactly the same.
But kind of coming back to that M1 chip. So just little more on that, then we'll move on. Another nice thing about the M1 chips or the ARM chips is their power consumption. So by having something that draws a fraction of the power compared to an Intel chip, those MacBook Pros could run twice as long. It kind of depends on what they're doing for battery and how efficient the chip is, but they're able to run that for longer periods of time, which means if you are on a Mac side of things, it's no longer I got to stay plugged in if I want to edit this video. I can now be on the go and edit the video.
So that is one of the key things about changing architectures. So the chip in your computer is an x86 based chip that has to maintain some level of compatibility with previous versions of the chips, and that adds to the complexity of the chip, the size of the chip, and eventually the power draw of the chip. If you do a hard break and switch to ARM, well, that breaks your compatibility. You can no longer, on these new ARM MacBook Pros, you can't run the previous MacBook Pro version of Photoshop. You just can't. They're not. But you can use the ARM version, which has got feature parity, so it's the same.
Yeah, and and that's kind of like what you were talking about, where you could write something that fits all.
Right.
Right. That is going to be. It's going to be a transition here. It's definitely for all the Mac.
But they're transitioning to an ARM chip, which is a version of a RISC chip, which is a reduced instruction set. So it cuts a lot of those things that you realistically don't use anymore, but they had to keep, which allows them to get the same performance or possibly better for less power.
Yes. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I will admit Apple does tend to set standards or set the bar for when it comes to what features you get for what. You see a lot of features coming out on Macs first. It's kind of like Mercedes. basically, anytime you see like a new feature Mercedes, and this is dwindling slowly, but it used to be years ago, if you saw a new feature on Mercedes, give it 2, 3, 4 years, all of a sudden those features were now in other cars, like a standard in other cars.
And the reason Mac does this is because they have such a loyal following that even when they're doing, like, this kind of architecture change wouldn't happen on a Windows system.
No.
They tried it already. No. Windows RT was this change. It died. It died
because
hard.
They didn't execute it well enough.
That, and they don't have a loyal enough following, because Windows gets a lot of hate. Windows is really good, actually, for what it is, and all the backwards compatibility and all the things it has to do. Windows is actually really good, but they get a lot of hate, mostly because they make a few mistakes. But Mac has a following that's loyal enough that they are willing to rebuy all of their apps along with this architecture change.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And because of that,
somebody
Apple
drank
is
too much of the Kool-Aid, if you ask me.
Because of that allows Apple the flexibility to do things that other competitors can't pull off. And then once once the masses see how well it is working for Apple, now they're willing to spend the money to redo certain things.
That's going to make me kind of wonder. We're going to come back to that or something else here. How long do you think before we see that become an AMD style chip?
What do you mean?
Like
an AMD ARM
switching to ARM or starting to build ARM?
Didn't NVIDIA buy ARM?
Or NVIDIA, did they? No, they didn't buy ARM, did they?
In September, NVIDIA agreed to purchase ARM for $40 billion.
Okay.
So NVIDIA owns ARM, but they also said that they're not going to change anything about the licensing, so AMD could make an ARM chip. I was about to say,
because if that's the case, then in theory, Apple would have to start paying if they wanted to change licensing agreements or something.
Right. I think they can't retroactively do it. So NVIDIA probably could say that, okay, we're now going to start charging a license fee to be able to use the ARM, but that's only going to be for anything that you're putting the ARM logo on starting
whatever
this year.
Or whatever. So it makes me wonder how long before we start seeing ARM as a potentially mainstream processor. You know, like is Intel willing to make a switch to an ARM processor? Is AMD? Because I mean, look at AMD, their Ryzen series, their Ryzen 3, just came out.
I don't know, because AMD and Intel are killing it in the x86 because they've been in the game so long. Mm-hmm. If they switch to ARM based, they'll have, I mean, the tooling is similar but not the same. Yeah. And so they're going to be starting, probably from the halfway point, which is better than some people, but there are ARM competitors out there that they're suddenly going to have to start to compete with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what I wonder, because I mean, not to say, anything Mac does, I love. Obviously, I mean, I don't hate Mac. I give a lot of grief because, Mac. But no, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with them, but I do see those trends of if Mac does it, everybody else follows eventually.
If I had to guess, this is my thoughts of what will likely happen.
Okay.
Apple's going to go ARM-based.
Everybody start screen recording right now.
Okay.
He's making the prediction.
I'm predicting.
Why is that mic right in front of your mouth?
Because I don't want to crouch anymore, and if it's low, I keep crouching.
Well, stop crouching and just talk loud. Project
I'm not
into the mic.
Gonna do. Okay. Apple is going to go ARM.
Okay.
That part's already come true.
Yes.
My predictions are 100%.
It's not a prediction if it's already happened, and I just read off the article to you.
You're ruining my prediction. Okay, Apple goes ARM. Okay, and then if successful, if the MacBook Pro does take off and catches on, this is what's going to happen: is the creative sector who stick with Apple's the most, video editors, photo editors, all of that. All those apps are going to go over to ARM quickly. Yep. Very quickly. Like they're probably already most of them there at this point, since we knew Apple was doing this for a year.
We've known for a while, so
the creative suites of stuff are going to be ARM-based, and fully functional ARM-based versions of them are going to exist. You are going to be able to get those ARM-based versions on Windows-based ARM tablets, which do exist.
Yep.
And stuff like that, because they're still ARM. They might have to make a different version, but it's the Windows-based market is going to be 5 to 6 years behind getting on ARM.
Okay.
That is going to be my guess. Is in 5 or 6 years, if Apple catches on in 5 or 6 years from when does this release? Later, end of 2020, or is it
No,
2021?
I think it's out. New MacBook Pro with ARM release. It's either out or it's out really, really soon. Late 2020.
Late 2020. So,
Yeah.
by the end of 2025, PC creative users will start switching over.
Okay.
And then that will drive PC general users to start switching over. And then and maybe my timelines are off. Maybe it's 3 years for creative users, 5 years for the rest of the users to follow through.
So you're thinking 2025.
2025.
If we're still doing these streams,
we might be
on an ARM-based processor.
we will likely be on an ARM-based processor. If this catches on.
Yeah, and that's I think that's going to be the thing is how well is this going to perform?
Because
I mean,
Windows
in theory,
already did it.
Yeah.
So
I mean they could make a run for it again. I think one of the biggest drawbacks is Apple does have those dedicated users. Windows, no waffling. Windows, I don't think has that kind of dedication that people are going to be like, well, I guess I'll just have to buy my whole Steam library over again. There's got to be some adaptive way.
I see what happens is when ARM gets really good and real fast, and things start to transition to having ARM-based versions of it as the primary versions, you're going to find a lot more emulating of x86. So people are not going to be rebuying their Steam library.
It would be just emulating an...
it's like a Linux user playing Windows games.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah, that's true.
It's also possible that people will be going Linux by then. If the ARM transition goes well,
I think
the same restrictions that people have with going to Linux exist.
Yeah,
it's the same as going to Linux.
I think in my opinion, and you know,
I wasn't
not being as Linux knowledgeable as you. I know a fair amount about Linux, but you know more. I think the biggest drawback that keeps people from going to Linux is it comes across as intimidating because you see 90% of the stuff done through command line.
And that's not true anymore.
Well,
people still do it by habit.
I do Raspberry Pi Linux. That's about the gist of it anymore that I do. And 90% of that is still Raspberry Pi or is still command line. And that is one thing that, and I'm going to phrase this in a way that I'm sure somebody's going to take as an insult or whatever. It's not intended that way, but
Larry, Carl's not directing this right at you.
Larry, I am pointing right at you, Larry. No. Apple appeals to the masses that don't want to have to work for it. They simplify things. I'm not saying you're stupid or lazy. It's you want things just to
you don't want to have to deal with it. It's like I bought an iPhone and a Mac because I don't want to have to figure out why is my phone not talking to my computer. It just works.
Not saying you're stupid, not saying you're lazy. Don't get your panties up in a bunch.
Everyone's lazy. Oh, yeah. You just because you only have a certain amount of brain power and you choose to focus it on something else. I don't have a problem with Mac users. Mac has a place.
I have a problem with Mac users that are entitled anyways.
There is a certain subset of Mac users that are Mac. It's the classic sheeple.
Yes, and there's also a certain set of Samsung phone users and a certain set of Windows
Everybody
users.
has them. Everybody has them.
I've got
Windows
one in the room here,
yeah.
so.
Windows has a following that's a cult following. Linux has a
Especially
following
XP.
that's a cult following.
Yeah.
Mac has a following that's a cult following, and
They just have really
people
funny
just like
tasting
to
Kool-Aid.
people just like to hate on them.
Yes. But it's funny because like I'll watch.
Yeah, DOS command line. So that was my point about Linux.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
Linux, just like Windows, when you first went into Windows, you did a lot of stuff in the command line, and still
I
today.
remember that.
Still today, there are lots of settings and things you can change on Windows that you have to go through PowerShell is the new way of doing it. You have to use PowerShell to do it. So Linux does still have some of that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they have app stores. They have ways to download and double click on an executable.
I need to revisit Linux.
You need to use Pop
true
OS.
desktop format.
You need to use Pop OS.
Yeah. Because
It is built for gamers on Linux and everything. Like it's already got everything built in. Like your video driver's already built in. Okay. Everything. You don't have to figure anything out. It just works.
Yeah.
Pop OS.
And the last time I was on a true Linux distro desktop was when I had, or like desktop, I was on a laptop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. And that was running Ubuntu.
Even Ubuntu is better now.
Yeah. And this was, I mean, like really, really trying to use it. It's probably been about a good 8 years.
Yeah. In the last 5 years, 4 years, they added an app store to Ubuntu. Okay. So most of the stuff that you install, you install through the app store.
That will make things easier, but I think there's still the look or the thought process of you hear Linux,
right?
And
it's the stigma.
You think I'm gonna do a whole lot of typing. Got to install everything. I'm playing. Go West.
Yeah.
Open door.
It's got a stigma behind it.
Yeah,
but it's the same kind of stigma that Mac has for Windows users.
That is true. That is true.
It's just the opposite direction.
And but I will say I think
you have no control in Mac. None.
Yeah, no.
That's not true.
No.
It's just they limit some of the stuff that people shouldn't be doing anyways.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like Windows, or why I've always kind of leaned towards Windows, is because I can get away. I used to be able to get away with just changing whatever the hell I wanted and doing whatever I wanted on there. Obviously, not as much as Linux, because Linux is completely open source. So
if you really wanted to, you could change anything.
Yeah. But Mac, it's like I have the MacBook Pro now. It's an older one, but it's running on not quite the most up to date. I think they just released Big Sur, versus I am on like High Sierra, whatever the one is prior to the most recent release, and it's learning that functionality and how to do stuff. And
so speaking of Big Sur.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to go over some things that Mac didn't used to be able to do?
Yes. Oh yes. Oh, this is actually no.
Big Sur has some new features.
So if you've been a Mac user and this might be helpful to you. Otherwise, for all non-Mac users, this is us poking fun at Mac and going, why couldn't you do that before?
Yes, some of this is just like, oh, that's kind of cool, and some of it's like, you couldn't do that before?
I think that's one of the things.
I haven't even looked through all of them
Linus
yet.
Tech Tips. He does stories on YouTube, and if you're on your phone. I was watching one, and he was playing with an iPhone. He's an iPhone user. He likes the Apple Watch iPhone combination. He does switch back and forth all the time because he's constantly getting phones, but he uses an iPhone for his primary phone on and off. But that's his most common. And he was actually showing, he's like, I still don't understand why they can't do this.
The stories?
No, not the stories. This is what he was showing. I'm going to move a couple things around. Come on, just go to the next page. Okay. Let me just grab this one and go to the next page. So, on an iPhone, if I were wanting to take this icon and I want to put it down here, I'd click and drag and I'd put it wherever I want, and it would just snap right back up and everything would shift over. Versus Android, you have the ability to put that right down there.
Which I use because I'll go to a page and like the top of the page is this, the bottom of the page is this. Go to the next page, top of the page is this.
Yeah,
like this kind of app, like my mail apps,
exactly.
my whatever.
Rather than
instead of folders.
I was about to say rather than sorting by folders.
Yeah.
But he brought up the point: what if you're left-handed and there's certain apps that you want just quick access to, but for some reason it always ends up on the right-hand side? You know, it's like, why couldn't you do that? So let's see why you couldn't do some of this stuff in Mac. We need to create a segment.
11 things you can do in Mac OS Big Sur that you couldn't do before. Okay, start one. Fresh face for music. So, open up the music app, and there's now a listen now in the option in the navigation page. So that does, it's just music. I don't know. I don't know. This isn't
Open
a
up
feature.
the music app in Mac OS Big Sur. And you'll notice there's a new listen now. So this is Apple Music, I think is what it's going to.
Yeah, it's the version of Apple Music's version of Windows Media Player. And I think what they're saying is in Windows Media Player, you don't have a online playlist. You just have your local library. It sounds like they have an online way in theirs. So you can listen to stuff in there, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I go to websites for my music, but maybe it's because I'm not a Mac user. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
That seems a feature of the music app, but I guess the music app is upgraded with the OS, so it makes sense. Okay. New control center. This looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't mind this change, and Windows Notification Center is kind of its version of that, which has all this stuff. And the Windows version looks more professional, but I don't care for it to look professional. So I like this. This looks good. I like it.
I feel like that looks...
Easy access to certain...
That does look more appealing.
Right.
But I don't think it's as appealing as I would like it. I wish there was more of a way to customize my Windows app, and customize that.
You can customize this. You can clear all notifications, right click, edit, and you can change all the buttons, add more.
But can you change the aesthetics of them?
Yes.
Different types of icons and stuff. Like, I haven't figured out a way to...
You can change... It changes with the theme of your whole PC. I don't know if there's anything more to it.
I don't want to change the whole theme. Let me customize one thing.
Yeah.
But next one up. Customize the notification center.
Yeah, so this is...
the same thing.
Same kind of thing.
Just talking about.
Customize the Safari start page. So Safari is their web browser, right?
Yes.
Okay. You couldn't customize the start page of Safari?
Honestly, here's the extent of which I have used Safari on my MacBook Pro. Open, Google, Chrome, download, enter.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same with
I
Windows.
Honestly, that's the same, like reinstalling Windows. Edge was the first thing that came up. I used Edge long enough to type in Google Chrome download, and I went to Google Chrome.
Oh, yeah.
And I think honestly, like people that I know that aren't tech savvy, they know, or by default go to Google Chrome. I think that it's become such a universal thing now that Google Chrome is... I'm not going to say it's better because there's going to be some argument that say, no, it's not. That people have grown accustomed to Google Chrome. So
there are things that Chrome does better. There are things that Edge does better. There are things that Safari, I'm sure, does better. I don't know. I've never used it.
Yeah.
Chrome's biggest power is you can do anything you want in Chrome. Its biggest downside is that the way they sandbox things to protect the app from itself makes it take up a ton of memory. It's classic memory hog.
Complete resource hog.
Because the way Chrome does it is every little thing that opens is its own application. So you've got 10 tabs there. You have 10 whole versions of Chrome open. Whereas every other browser, you've got 10 tabs open. You've got one version of that browser open with 10 tabs inside it. And so you lose a lot of the overhead.
So 9 tabs
equals 29 tasks. So it's not just 9 tabs. That's 9 tabs. Some of them are running.
I have a tab over here, a tab right there. So that's 11. That would be considered a tab. 12. Jesus.
But there are things, different processes for the rendering engine on each page that has a rendering engine open. A different process for the audio engine on each page that's playing audio.
Yeah.
And so they separate things out so much that makes it so that when one thing breaks, it doesn't break everything.
Yeah.
But that also makes it duplicates the overhead.
I call BS. It's been a long time since this has happened, but I have had one page crash, and that just domino affects every page.
It's way more rare on Chrome than other browsers.
Now, I say it's been a while. This was like years ago. I remember that stuff just like domino effect. Anytime you got over like 10 to 15 tabs is when you start running into like serious issues, where it just was not stable. And I don't know what Larry and Ellen are talking about. There's something about muting and meth kills Larry, and I don't know, something about Fortran with punch cards. Yeah.
They're talking about programming. They programmed C++. I never programmed. I programmed in BASIC in high school. And then I did Visual Basic for a while, and then I switched to C#. I've programmed minimally in other programs, and I do a lot of JavaScript.
I'm going to translate for Justin real quick. I dabbled in 4 different programs in high school.
Programming languages.
No, just programs. I'm going to say programs.
Okay.
I'm dumbing it down here.
I've heard of Cabal. We transitioned everything away from that because it's a dead language. Basic.
It's like
I don't see anything. I don't know what RPG is. Assembly and machine specific. Yeah. Assembly and machine specific is terrible to program in. I've seen it. I never want to have to do that. That's why I use a higher level programming language, because everything becomes assembly in the end.
Let's continue on to number 5.
Number 5, check what's tracking you around the web. It's a privacy report. So I think Chrome does that too. I think it does that. Otherwise, I always install an ad blocker, and that blocks everything too.
Well, hold on. The side, I don't think, we're going to come back to that. I started doing something and got rid of ad blocker, and it is great. Pi-hole. You take a Raspberry Pi, in which case I bought a Raspberry Pi Zero, which was like $5. And you still have to buy power supply and blah, whatever. But I got a Raspberry Pi Zero. I installed Pi-hole, and it actually is you basically direct your whole router through this. It will legitimately block, like, I would say 90% of any and all advertisements or anything I have not seen anymore. And occasionally it will, like, you'll be scrolling through a page. You'll see this just gray box with like a confused looking face in there. Yeah. Block that ad. And the nice thing is you can actually see, like, it logs everywhere it's trying to contact. It will show what's coming through and what's not. Definitely something to look into for you. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, you can. It's got a Docker install, and Unraid runs Dockers.
There you go. You don't even need a Raspberry Pi.
I don't even need a Raspberry Pi. I could install it. I could probably do it right now.
And I haven't noticed any speed issues.
It's just a DNS, so there shouldn't be any speed. It looks at the Pi-hole to get the address of the servers.
Yeah.
And the Pi-hole looks at the internet to get the addresses and blocks certain.
And it looks back at your computer or phone or tablet and goes, I don't know what that goes to. Sorry. And your phone goes, okay.
Yeah, because it still loads everything else, just not the ads.
I did find one thing about this is it does block some Google services, so you have to whitelist a couple. I was getting pissed. I was watching stuff on YouTube on my phone while at home, and then I go to my history, and it wasn't showing up in my history. And so basically, I had this never-ending cycle of the same fucking videos for like 3 days straight. I'm like, sorry, F-bomb, I know that one's bad. But 3 days straight of these same videos. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, it's got to be, I don't know what's going on. It's broken. And then because like if I watch it on my computer, it was doing the same thing too. But it would recognize if I was here or somewhere else. I'm like, it's something on my network. What's changed about my network? Pi-hole. There are like 2 things you have to unblock or whitelist so that it actually, because it doesn't, for some reason, it just doesn't log something that keeps track of your history. So I was kind of getting mad because I was like, I want to see something different aside from like the same 50 videos.
Mm-hmm.
So just throwing that out there. Anyways,
I'll have to do that. Maybe
look into it. I think it's something. It was fun for me.
Did you do a video on it?
No.
Maybe we do a video on it.
Do a video on it. Yeah. You can.
It's not hard.
You can show your way. I could show mine. It was really simple actually. So, anyways, back to.
So I don't know if I consider this something new that you can do that you didn't used to be able to do. You can search more quickly. The search got faster. That's not new. That's just updated. It's things that you couldn't do. Search? You could search. It's just quicker now. Better interface.
So here's the thing on mine, and maybe I don't know how to do this, but this isn't an option. So on my MacBook Pro, you have to click on Launcher, and then you can search. Versus this looks like it's a just search from anywhere.
It's a system-wide Spotlight search tool has been given an upgrade.
Okay, so apparently I don't know about the system-wide Spotlight search tool.
So it's just got a streamlined interface and some under-the-hood improvements so the results will show up faster. It's probably just improved. Optimized. In order to do searches on your computer builds a index of everything on your computer. And the better your index, the more space it takes up on your hard drive, but the faster your searches are. So it probably is just striking a different. It's like, oh, space isn't as much of a premium. I'm gonna let the index get bigger, and therefore we can search faster.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's not
small improvement.
That's new. That's not new. That's improved, not new.
About. And
do more with messages. What is new?
Because I always feel like up until recently, up until they got chat on Android devices, Apple has definitely had a better messaging system.
Yeah, and the new Android stuff is.
It's getting better, but it still has.
It's getting there. It has hiccups here and there, but the full resolution picture sending is great.
And that's something that Apple's had for a long time now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
I didn't think I would care about it as much as I do.
The
quality difference.
Yes, I couldn't tell you how many times somebody had sent me a video that they recorded on their phone, and it'd be in 4K or 1080p. But then you look at it, and it's just
I can't.
There's like garbled mess.
I can't tell what's going on with the 6 pixels you sent me.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Can you describe it to me in words? Because that would be more efficient than me trying to watch this 32 times.
So you can pin conversations. I can see where that might be useless. Add inline replies to individual messages. And mention people by name in a group chat. That sounds interesting.
Yes, you can actually go through and like thumbs up somebody's message, but I don't know. Can we do that on ours? Where'd that go? Can I see? Like, look, right. Messaging with our group is not available right now.
I've had that every once in a while.
Yeah,
they must be doing something with the service. It keeps going up and down.
Scroll up a little. What was the title of this one?
Dig into recent battery usage, and I was just going to look to see
do they have a battery
if Windows even
option?
has a battery. Which apps are affecting your battery life? So this is at least Windows 10.
Yeah. So this wasn't an option before?
Apparently not, and this doesn't even. This is just usage percentage history.
But now it. I don't know.
Like, I guess I don't get a graph. I just see where I'm at now and what's used it.
Like, oh, wait a minute. Skype has been running in the background or something. I need to keep that closed because that's draining.
Screen on usage. So there's some information here.
All right, I'll buy a MacBook
Battery,
Pro.
power adapter, schedule. Huh.
Hey, Craig, can you send me a MacBook Pro? I know you got a couple lying around.
So, I mean, it's tracking more different information. I still don't see how many apps. It probably does. I assume it does because that's such a basic feature. Yeah. And if it doesn't, I'll be surprised.
But I'm surprised that you couldn't do this before.
You can't do that in Windows either. You can only see in the last 24 hours how much each one has used, but you don't get a screen on time by hour. Like, oh, the screen was on at midnight last night. Who was using my computer?
Okay, so I guess I see it from
the battery level graph. It doesn't have. So this it's more information. You can tell when it was plugged in.
But at the same time, I feel like there's more information that for me, I can give a shit less about.
For most of the time, this is going to be more troubleshooting, like what's going on.
It from Android.
Yeah, Android's had that too, and this in general is probably more useful. I don't know.
Shut your mouth, Larry.
Check.
So Larry does want a video installing Raspberry Pi. Maybe we could do something like that. Then he says Craig has a closet full of them. He sent me a MacBook Pro. Shut your mouth. If anybody gets a used MacBook Pro from Craig, it's probably his daughter.
Check up on apps before installing them. You might not have it yet. It's coming later in the update, so it's not even available yet.
So what's that supposed to be doing?
Simplified privacy policy, so it tells you what it's allowed to use and simplified it. That's useful. I don't know if Windows has that.
Kind of a thing.
That's a thing in Android.
Android, yeah. I was about to say because especially if you're installing third-party non-App Store apps. Like unrecognized APKs, because I remember on the Fire TV stick, it would be like this program wants to use this, and this, and then you had the option of reading everything about it, or you just got the highlight reel. Which to me, that seems like that's what that's doing.
Yeah, and I'm guessing Windows probably doesn't have that. I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah.
Now, but Windows probably doesn't have that, and that's useful. But that's Android catching up on, or Mac catching up on what Android can do, and probably their own iOS.
Yeah.
And so what they're starting to do is feature parity between their OSs.
Yeah, which would make sense.
That's what it feels like.
Their ARM thing. Yeah.
This whole way. Apply more edits in photos. So they got more features in the photo editor. Cool.
Hold on. Actually, I'm going to back up here. Larry had brought this up a little ways back. I had mentioned Affinity Photo, and he says, thank you for recommending that. Ditch whatever photo app you're using. I don't care if you have Adobe Photoshop and you're paying that subscription fee. Get yourself Affinity Photo. It is a one-time fee, and this isn't sponsored or anything like that. I am absolutely in love with Affinity Photo. I used to use Adobe Photoshop years ago when I was in school and I was doing web design stuff. And this has it's got a learning curve, but it's got every feature you need. And right now you can actually, I guess I could show the actual picture. It's got everything you need. It's got a learning curve, but you can pick it up right now. Windows, $50. There's always a sale. I picked mine up. I got it for both the iPad and Windows, and I think I paid $30 for Windows and $10 for the iPad because there's some random sale. But the stuff you can do on this is insane. What are you looking at?
Whether it has content aware fill, because that's a cool feature that Photoshop added a few years ago.
Content aware fill.
Let's see here. In painting.
I think I know what you're talking about.
So it does have some version of it. It's basically when you crop out, like if you wanted to get rid of the dog.
Yeah, I was just going to share that. Yeah, it's basically, it can take and you can essentially erase this dog and it will auto replace it. We're just going to kind of skip ahead here. I don't know what they're doing there. You can draw a circle around the dog and you don't want its shadow or anything, and boom, it's done.
Yeah, and so
I could see that being, I don't know
if Affinity Photo has something called in painting, and here's its demo.
Oh, boom, there we go.
So he's highlighting the girl.
Equivalent, yep.
And the rail.
And the rail.
And just boom, gone. And there's some touch up he's going to have to do. You can see part of it's still there, and he's going to go touch it up. But I mean, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I like content aware fill, and the fact that you can get that
over my iPad and my Apple Pencil. I went as far as buy an Apple Pencil, and I'll bring those over and let you play with them, and you'll be like, "That is awesome." But like I said, it's got the learning curve. But essentially, Affinity Photo combines
Look at him just erase that power line, just boom, gone.
Yeah.
And
See, and I
just
actually
boom, get rid of the signs, get rid of the people.
Hold on. Let me pull that back up.
He just
go back a little. Yeah, he's just nailing people. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. And I'm sure this is sped up somewhat.
Yeah.
Just judging by his mouse.
I want to see how this works. Oh, look at, and what it's doing is it's taking pieces of the picture from elsewhere,
from right around where that is, and kind of simulating what should be there.
And much cleaner look.
Oh, jeez.
It starts to get iffy when it has to make decisions about hard lines. You know, when you, like, if one side of the line is a road and the other side of it's grass, and you decide to take out something that's
on the road,
entire hard line,
then you may get some
weirdness to it.
So. But
yeah, that's cool. I really like content aware. I think it's a cool feature that not people who don't use photo editing software, and even a lot of people who don't know about, and I think it's really cool.
Hold on, let's see what Carl said. Yeah, content aware is amazing. Yeah, I wish somebody would make Android work well on a PC. They use a lot less space and have a great software that can.
So you can use Android app, any Android app on Windows. You install a software called BlueStack. It's an emulator.
So, I was going to say the same thing. I was just thinking about the last time I used BlueStack. So
play video games.
Yes. No. My brother-in-law was into some game, and he's like, "You got to get into this." I'm like, "All right." And it was a good game. I forget what the name of it was. It was like some survivor zombie apocalypse game. And he's like, "Oh yeah, what you do is you create," because I was like, it's hard to level up. Why is it taking me so long? And it's like, well, you're supposed to create multiple accounts, and you have your main account and farm accounts. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And I was playing it on my phone, and I was switching back and forth, and I'm like, wait a minute. I got a whole separate monitor over here. So I sent him a picture a couple days later after he told me that.
Like
and
10 BlueStacks instances going.
No, it was only like 5. So I had my primary, and so it was click, 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 click across the board. And all of a sudden, I'm just like leveling like crazy. And this thing is like, I knew you'd figure out a way to just power game it.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's finish up.
BlueStacks is the way to go. Apparently, some people like playing the mobile version of PUBG more than the desktop version.
Oh, yeah.
And you can make BlueStacks. There's a guide out there to make PUBG, the mobile version of PUBG, work on BlueStacks with the controllers, and then you can get the
it will
whole
emulate
experience.
A phone, a tablet, like you could set resolution. Look it up, BlueStacks. It is really awesome. Last thing here.
Feature 11. I got 2 things. Yep. Feature 11, last one, look around Apple Maps. Apple Maps added Street View, which is they call look around.
Use Google Maps.
Apple Maps will send you into rivers and lakes. No, I'm joking. I don't think it still does. But it's a feature that Google had, but Apple was going to be far behind on that one because you have to drive around and Google's not going to let them do it.
No.
But one thing that isn't coming with the update, and probably isn't for a while.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this before.
Last thing I got. Apple still says, so they're doing all this feature parity, and a lot of this is like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, I really like this right here, but this would only really be extremely useful with a touchscreen, which Apple says isn't coming.
And people have been asking for a touchscreen Max for a long time.
I got a touchscreen tablet here. Oh, geez.
There's a way to screw things up.
Why does this touchscreen not work? What am I doing?
What? We're going to just change this over there.
This touchscreen doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, you got the pen. That's what you need to use that for.
Well, I think the touchscreen's dirty. Why is
that? Is like not working. Did you turn it off somehow?
I don't know.
Anyways,
I think
we are going to ramp it up here real quick. Waiting for Justin to tip back too far. He's going to fall out of that chair. Once ARM is in place, touchscreen Macs would be iPads. And that's That's something that we're not far off, depending on what you're doing. Where an iPad Pro could be a full-on laptop replacement. Well, you got something stuck somewhere, buddy. Yeah,
Oh, see, I think I'm touching weight on there.
you need to do a calibration.
It needs to be calibrated.
Yeah. We're really not far off to where, I mean, even just a regular iPad can get a lot done. And if you, okay, think about this. Justin's laptop here. Sorry, I'm just going to kind of use this as an example. Look how thin that thing is. This could be, for most people, a workhorse. Like, not everybody is editing videos. And even then, you can do some editing on here,
It's got an i7 in it.
Yeah.
And if ARM takes over and is more powerful for less power, it'd be even better.
Yeah, but iPads, you could really do a full-on replacement if you had especially now, because they did upgrade their iOS to where you can plug in a hard drive, plug in a USB cord, you could plug in a mouse, you can use a keyboard. Like, at this point, the iPad isn't far off from a MacBook anymore, especially with the ARM architecture.
I can see, once they move everything to ARM architecture, that the MacBook Air and the iPad Pro merge into the same product line.
I think they'll still keep them separate just because...
Yeah. But I could see if they did something like this, where this screen flips and closes, so now it's a tablet, and then it does that, and now it's a laptop. If they did something like that, you could have one device, or do what a lot of things do and have just a detachable keyboard, which is what the iPad Pro already does.
Yeah. So, before we leave here, I'm going to answer Alan's question. Nothing about the PS5 launch. Well, you can buy a PS5 right now. You can buy them online.
Can you buy them now?
Yeah.
Where?
Walmart today. Last chance to buy a PS5 is at Walmart today. So I have been following this to a certain extent. I want to talk about it next week, though, after we see all the fiasco and shit show that this has become.
I'm buying it right now. If they have it available, I'm buying it right now. And not stock.
Yeah.
Nope.
So
I'm done.
I want to give it a little more time to simmer before we talk about it, because I honestly think there were some mistakes made. We talked about it last week, I thought, a little bit about, or maybe it was the week before. The PS5s were only online, and of course, Alan got his today.
He's sending it to me. It's okay.
Oh, that's right. He said that. Yeah, last time. So.
Yeah, we're holding you to that, Alan.
Yeah.
We'll find.
We will be talking about it.
I'll buy the Photoshop software, and we'll find that comment where you said that.
So, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I think it was just kind of a wing at night and just relax and have fun. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. We got Zelric, who I never said hi to, Mark Gump, Rod Priester, Larry Brown, Bill Wilson, Alan Buckley. We got a Kelly up in here somewhere, aka Ultimarie, and I think that was John Stevens, and that was everybody. But yes,
did you say
Mark Gump?
Bill Wilson?
Bill Wilson? Yeah, I said Bill Wilson. I thought I did. If I didn't, I said it.
My brain's all over the place.
Yeah, that, and I just kind of spat them off real quick. So, but thank you guys all for joining us. We will be back next Thursday. Yeah, we'll be back next Thursday.
Yeah.
So
Thanksgiving's the following Thursday.
Thanksgiving's the following one.
We won't be here for that.
Can't seem to hear us. Weird.
Huh.
They're gone in 60 seconds. I didn't hit end stream. We're still streaming. Okay, don't know what's going on there. Hopefully you guys hear this. Bye. Have a good one. Thank you. See you next week.
Oh, he was saying he can't seem to hear us when we were saying he was sending. Yeah, I got it. Got it.
You got us. You got me on that one. You really
I'll
did.
send it to you, Alan.
Yeah.
Okay, have a good one.
Bye.